Shalom. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah, our Father, and Yahusha. He is the Mashayah, the one who carries the burden of Yah, his voice, our high priest, and soon coming king. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah, who is our mighty one. He is one, and there is no other Alua in existence than Yahuwah, and Yahusha is his voice. This is Brother Hezak Yahu bringing you the feast of Shabaut. Come to the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Ancient Abarya reads from right to left. The first letter looks like a W, gives us the sh sound, followed by the ba, then an a. The fourth letter looks like a Y. They call it a wa. That's going to give you the oo sound. And then the last letter, t, ta, t, shabaut. Shabaut. Debarya. It means words. You may know it as Deuteronomy. Debarya 16:16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yahuwah Alayak, in the place where he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of Shabaut, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahuwah Alayak empty. Let's begin. Verse 1. And when the day of Shabaut was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. For when 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Let's continue. Verse 2. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven, as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. Verse 3. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. This is the Ruah, brothers and sisters. Verse 4. And they were all filled with the Ruah, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Ruah gave them utterance. Now, this is not the Baptist or the Pentecostal tongues that you remember as a child, or some of you doing yourselves, but the Ruah fell on these men, and they were able to understand and speak the languages of the men in the room with them. Verse 5. And there were dwelling at Yerushalayim men of the tribe of Yahudah, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. I want you to pay attention to that every nation. See, your translators will put that phrase in your book to frame your thoughts. Because if you had not known, or if you were not aware of how this bloodline works, you would read that and think that, oh, these were all different types of people. No. This is one bloodline, the tribe of Yahudah. They just come from different nations like we do today, but we are still one bloodline. Verse 6. Now when this noise was abroad, the multitude came together, and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. Verse 7. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? Verse 8. And how hear we every man in our own language, in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Now I want to paint a picture for you. These men are marveling at this because the Galileans, the men from Galilee, they are speaking Abarya, right? These are men coming from all over the nations, as you will see in verse 9. They're coming from all over Mesopotamia, all over the land. They're like, wait, how can we understand what they're saying? These apostles, how can we understand them? Furthermore, how can they understand us? That's the power of the Ruah. Verse 9. Parthians and Medes and Elamites and the dwellers in Mesopotamia, and in Yahudah and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia. Verse 10. Phrygia and Pamphylia and Egypt and in parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Yasharalites and proselytes, Verse 11. Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our own tongues the wonderful works of Yahuwah. Verse 12. And they were all amazed and were in doubt, saying one to another, what does this mean? Verse 13. Others, mocking, said, these men are full of new wine. Stop. Right now in the land, this is all family and blood. So these are their own brethren mocking them, their own family. They come from the same seed. The Ruah missed these brothers, so they're mocking, because they have no eyes to see and no ears to hear. It's just like today in the world. A lot of us get ridiculed on our jobs, ridiculed by our own family members because we keep Yah's ways. Verse 14. But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, ye men of Yahudah, and all ye that dwell in Yerushalayim, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. Verse 15. For these are not drunken, as ye suppose, seeing it is but the third hour of the day. But this is what which is spoken by the prophet Yahuwah. We have a homework assignment. Anytime you are reading scripture and you come across another verse, do yourself a favor, stop and check it out. Especially when it comes to the New Testament and the Old Testament. The old is in the new explained, the new is in the old contained. Always remember that. All 2, 28 through 30. 28. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my ruah upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. 29. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my ruah. 30. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire, pillars of smoke. Allah Yahuwah. All right, family, before I let you go, I just want to put a thought in your mind, give you something to think about. Oftentimes, the heathen are telling us that we cannot keep the feast here in the land of our captivity. But to the Jews in New York and Chicago and the tri-state, they don't say anything to them. In fact, during the time of their holidays or their feast days, corporations come out with kosher this, kosher that, Passover approved this, Passover approved that. But when we try to unite as a people and restore our heritage, our true heritage, they tell us, no, you can't keep the feast here. Well, in the same breath, while you're saying we can't keep the feast here because we're in the land of our captivity, you are admitting that if there were a people in captivity on the earth, you've identified us. Number two, if you are identifying us, you are also saying the people over there in the land are imposters and frauds. But we knew that though. Shalom.